Okay, just got this C63s coupe in for a couple upgrades. I'm going to tune the engine up a bit, squeeze some more power out of it, do a few exhaust mods, get it sounding a little better, and we got some Rentec blow-up valve adapters we're going to put on it. So a lot of experience enhancers going on this one. It should push about, it's hard to say, being just the ECU getting tuned on this one. It's not the tuning package, which is always kind of recommended to do the transmission as well to get it shifting a lot smoother, and the drivetrain computer to unlock the full potential, like getting to the wheels. But it should add 50 horsepower at least, a ton of sound, a whole different driving experience, and a feelable additional power. So this really get it going for me. The customer just got this car, so he just wants to spice it up a bit and bring it to life some more for the cars he's used to driving. So first off, I'm just doing the inspection on everything. This is my first time seeing the car. I'm not sure if I've worked on this one in the past before under different ownership, but regardless, I'm just going to check everything out. This is a 2020, so it's a newer model of this car. Coolant's pretty low. There's no low coolant light on. There's some in this guy. That's good. I see this bumper's been painted because this clip's been painted over before. That's out of place. Yeah, this connector is supposed to go. This is the connector for the front camera. It wasn't here. I thought it was there, but that's a wiring harness clip. They went somewhere. Maybe it tied around the actual wire here. But if I'm not mistaken, the clip for this normally goes there, and it's an actual, like, it clips in. It doesn't tape on like this one used to. That has electrical tape that was wound around it. Anyways, I think that one's missing. I don't see it laying down on top of the oil cooler down there or anywhere else. Anyways. Oh, let's see if there's any leaks on this side. Which there usually never is, and there isn't. Nothing back behind or under the turbos. Oh, there's a hot leaf. Nothing on this side. That's the ECU that's coming out. That's where they put the ECUs on this car, under the intake manifold. I don't know why we're refusing to focus, but alright. And yes, the intake manifolds are on the outside because, you know, the head flow in this generation AMG engine are reverse. It's intake on the outside, exhaust on the inside, and a lot of turbos are there. But to get that thing out, you got to, it slides out the front, so all this has to come out off the bumper, the front upper radiator support, and, well, just to get the fan out. So the fan has to come, but to get the fan out, you have to do all that stuff. Anyways, it just slides out the front once all that's out of the way. This side of the battery here. It's not the lithium ion option. That's open. Okay, everything looks great up here. This stuff's in place. This connector block. The only generation of these engines, if you can count the GT, that has a dipstick. Everything else is electronic only. Okay, let's see what it looks like underneath. Half these undershield bolts were left loose. The middle one that matters. For starters, these two are not tight at all. And a lot of them were at least snug, just not, I could tell they weren't torqued down. Those are the only two. Okay. See what this is looking like on the underside here. Don't see any coolant residue from any of the radiators in the radiator pack, which is good. A little bit of oil there on that AC line. You can see it looks like the refrigerant's leaking out a bit. Usually if oil is coming out of an AC line, because you have oil circulating through it, like that lubricates the pump and everything. Oh yeah, that's a pretty good bit there. She's dripping off. If oil's leaking out, then the refrigerant has long been leaking out. Let's see, that's gonna, oh, you can see it again up there. Just looks a little misty. Anyways, moving over to this side. Don't see anything over there. The motor mounts look very high. This car only has 19,000 miles on it. Upper ball joint looks good. The shocks aren't leaking at all. These inner bushings look good. All these ball joints, none of them are torn. The inner brake pads are good. Probably at 40%. These rotors are starting to get a bit of a lip on them, but nothing concerning at all. These are probably the first set of pads and rotors on this car, being at 19,000 miles. Tires are very thick. On this side, all these ball joints look good. The upper ball joint looks good. Nothing coming from the strut. Shock mount bushing, sway bar end links. These guys all look good. Control arm bushings. Yes, yes. Inside brake looks the same as the other one. People don't scrape off the wheel weight tape, which no one ever does for some reason. Outer pad looks the same as well. Oh, got a bit of an oil leak here. Coming from somewhere. Let me see. The back of the head looks good and everything. It may be this rear main seal plate on the back of the engine here, or this oil pan. I don't think there's a lot coming from this drain plug here. Oh, it's an aftermarket one. I can see the color of the O-ring in there isn't factory. It's a yellowish or greenish one. Actually, they did change colors of these O-rings recently, oddly. The last time I went to pick up one of these drain plugs, when was it? Two days ago from the dealer, they changed the color of the O-rings on this, and maybe that is normal. And someone got an updated one before I did. This car was serviced 1,300 miles ago, I think. 1,400 miles ago, so that may be a factory one, but nevertheless, I don't think it's leaking from there because, like, the underside of that bolt, like the head of that bolt, the underside of it is wet with oil. So it couldn't drip out, up, and onto that. You can get a misting effect that, like, oil can, like, vaporize and kind of climb up stuff, but it wouldn't be, like, literally wet liquid on top of the bolts. Now, that has to be something higher than that, especially all the way on this side, all the way up, like, this wiring harness clip has a little oil residue on it. There ain't no way that's coming from the drain plug. And it's not wet enough between the engine and transmission really to be the seal plate. There is some residue there, but the fact that under the heads of these bolts are so soaking wet is really pointing towards this oil pan. Yeah. Yeah, you'd see a much heavier stream coming out from there. It's got to be this oil pan gasket. This. I didn't mean to tap that. I just don't want to touch my flashlight on the oily oil pan. Okay, so back of this head looks okay. No leaks up there at all. Looks good. Transmission looks good. Everything's clipped into place. No leaks anywhere on that. This reflex disc looks good with no cracking. The drive shaft. Let me get a feel for that. Yeah, it feels good. This reflex disc. Not cracking anywhere. Oddly rusty. Nothing else is rusty, but like the steel inserts in here have a little rust ring on them somehow. Axle boots look good. These lower control arm bushings, ball joint boots, all of them look good on every control arm. That one, that one. Oh, that shock's leaking a bit. It's a pretty decent leak. Same with the refrigerant. If you can see shock oil like physically leaking out, if like the oil is leaking out, then like the gas charged inside the shock has probably long been leaking out, if not completely discharged. And this one too, even if it wasn't, you always do suspension components in pairs, especially shock absorbers. You can see the oil residue there on the top of that one. Not as bad as this one, but they're both definitely leaking. Let's see. Check out the suspension bushings. All those look good. The top ones look good. These two also look good. Now for these brake pads. It's hard to get a gauge on the inside ones. Oh, yeah, they're good. There's about 40%, just like the front ones were. Tire tread's really thick. Yeah, that one's good. This one I can expect to see the same thing. A lot of gouging on the inside wheel here. A lot of times you see that on inside scrapes like this on the wheels whenever you go through automated car washes and it has like that guide that guides your car through. It'll scrape on those. This brake pad, tire tread, and that one looks good as well. Yes, the customer was saying he's getting a lot of squeaking coming from these brakes, but that's very common in the AMGs. Mercedes even published a document a couple years back that because it was such a common issue with AMG owners, like just describing how it's a normal condition, and there's a braking procedure you can try to do even on old brakes that kind of grinds off that top layer that gets glazed over to get you like some fresh pad material back and go through the bedding in procedure again, which can help a little bit. I've had luck with it, hit or miss. That braking procedure concept is more accurate with carbon ceramics. It does a lot more, but I have seen it with steel iron rotors as well before. So he said he's tried that before as well with no luck. So that is just the nature of having a harder ceramic pad like that comes on these AMGs. So yeah, that might just be how it is there. But okay, nothing catastrophic. I'll get him a quote for all the stuff I see wrong here and get that to him, and then I can start on the actual modifications it's in here for. So it's going to be this oil pan leak, lower oil pan with an oil change, obviously, an AC hose. So it'll have to be the AC hose with the O-rings and then an AC service charge because you have to recover the refrigerant and then recharge the system back with refrigerant and oil. It's because there is oil inside the AC that circulates with it, as I explained before, and that's what's leaking out. Obviously, a lot of people don't understand that there's AC refrigerant and there's also AC oil that gets changed with every AC service. So those two things up front, and then what was the thing like the shocks? Two rear shocks, oil pan leak, and AC line leak. None of them are very severe. The shocks aren't leaking very much, but the fact that it's a shock and it's leaking is bad in and of itself. And then this is pretty bad too. The fact that it's like literally dripping off, like it's forming droplets, is pretty impressive. I don't see a puddle down here anywhere. I'm curious to see. That's water. I remember seeing water dripping off the top of it. I remember, oh, no, it's not. That is coolant. The water I was talking about, I saw a droplet right there. That's water. Oh, it just fell on my face. That is clearly coolant coming from the side radiator pack. I looked at all the radiator packs when I was up here. This one must have missed me. Yeah, that's clearly leaking there. It seems to be coming from where the plastic, like, end tank there crimps onto the actual metal radiator housing. That's where all that crusty buildup is coming from, and then it's even wet with coolant right there. So then I wonder if that's what that's right on the edge of this. It looks slimy on the edge of this puddle. You can tell the difference between water and coolant. Water has a much higher surface tension, so it doesn't spread out like that does. And coolant has a wetting agent in it that lowers the surface tension. Anyways, you can tell the difference whenever you look at it long enough. How, like, the edge of the puddle like tapers out. So that's coolant. So that's actually dripping out. So retract that now. The worst thing is that. Okay, so that's 5 things. So it'll need radiator, AC line, oil pan gasket, and rear shock absorbers. So that's not too bad. That radiator just made it the worst thing in the whole car, though. But so I'll get those prices together for them and get that quote ready while I'm doing all the work on all the other cars. I'm gonna have this car for about a week, so it'll give plenty of time to get all this lined up and in order. If he wants to do anything else, we can have it all done around the same time for him. So I'll get all of that together and continue with the actual modifications.